I want to talk about our citations for our essay. So the essay is due by Monday, so we can move on to the annotated bibliography. I think my camera is dirty. Give me a second. I don't know how my camera got dirty, but anyway. So we need to be able to move on to the annotated bibliography by Monday, by next week. We need to be able to move on. So I just wanted to again look at the citations that we need and the works cited and example citations, what we've talked about this week. So we need to be able to have that down, and then I'll be using a lot of today to look at your outlines. I have to apologize. This left eye is just, I'm thinking about getting an eye patch just to cover it and let my right eye take up. I'm telling you that sickness has hit me really hard with a lot of headaches and a lot of just other issues. So seems like I got a little behind, but as I was looking at our drafts and whatnot, most of them were turned in just a couple of days before the weekend, before I started looking at them. And so I think we're doing okay with the draft. So this week we need to make sure that we are writing our full essay. All right, and I'm gonna look for an example essay and talk about the example in-text citations and make sure that we have a blend. So I'm going to pause this and pull it up. All right, I'm going to share my screen with an example essay and look at the citations, the blends and whatnot of this, and then I'll upload that essay to our to Brightspace. All right. So we're looking at, again, I don't want to read the whole thing, but this student here began, it's only in third person. This student did not write in first person. She wrote in third person. And that's fine. So she just took her, so she says, many young women struggle with their self-esteem. Another way of saying that is I struggle with my self-esteem. So instead of saying I, she just said many young women because she's a young woman. They often compare themselves to their peers, especially pictures of them on Instagram. In today's culture, women now see these beauty standards being challenged. So it's just all about her still. She's starting with her target audience, starting with herself, with her target audience, and then segueing into the commercial. Right. So there is there's an introduction that begins broadly with the target audience and then segues down into the commercial. Right. She doesn't have a 3-point, but it's still a really good thesis statement. Dove uses their audience's pathos and identity as women to establish its ethos and spread a meaningful message in the code commercial. So it did a great job with that thesis statement also. All right, so now again, all I want to do is talk about your citations and your in-text citations. What should they look like? So we're going to begin with the works cited page first. So I'm going to scroll down to the works cited page. And here's her works cited page. So we have Paul Hudson. These are the citations that we use in the blending techniques, the citations that I brought. So this is why I really like this particular remove hyperlinks on these. Hyperlinks drive me crazy. That's why I really like this particular example essay, because it uses the sources. It uses the sources that I used for us. Give me just a second. Remove all these hyperlinks though. It's all black, not blue. I don't really care if you upload an essay that has hyperlinks, as long as it looks nice, looks like this, and you're doing just fine. All right. So we have Paul Hudson. Right. So there's, anytime I have an in-text citation, I'm going to have the word Hudson. Anytime that I have the Martin Luther King, I'm going to have the word Martin in my in-text citation. Anytime I have Parable of the Cave, I'm going to have the words the cave, plus, since it's a long video, it needs to have a timestamp. And anytime she uses the Dove commercial, we need the word the code. So our in-text citations, our parenthetical citations, need to be these first words on the works cited page. Hudson, Martin. Yeah, anyway, we've got Hudson, Martin, the cave, and the code. So whatever word is poking out, these need to be in alphabetical order. She probably put it this because of the word the. So let's move these. I want to move these two. We don't go by the word the, we go by the what's after it. So these need to be in alphabetical order. I don't think she realized that. I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that whenever I was grading it for her over the summer. Anyway, So they're not in alphabetical order. So Cave, Code, Hudson, and Martin. So there's our works cited page. Again, your works cited page is a page at the end of your essay that has all your citations. So they need to be correct. They need to be correctly cited, right? They need to be. So if you use these, here are citations that you can just move over into your own essays. All right. So let's look at her use of them and her blends here. She actually has two blends. I only put one in bold. So here we have, I like this one because it ends in a question mark, right? So we have, here's her. Here's where she used the Dove commercial, right? Sometimes she just talked about the Dove commercial. So we didn't really have to have that in-text citation because she just talked about it in general. And then whenever she got more specific, we needed an in-text citation on those more specific times. All right, so let's look at that. What does that mean? So she says, towards the end of the ad, Dove references the past again. Dove states, what kind of beauty do we want AI to learn? Question mark. Right. So this isn't the Dove commercial that we looked at. This is a different Dove commercial. She found one that she liked, which is perfectly fine. She found her own Dove commercial. So whenever a quote ends in a question mark, it's like it's part of the quote, and we still want the period on the outside here. So an in-text citation means I used part of an outside source. So I need to have that citation in my essay, right? That's that in-text citation. So here we have a question mark. We have the in our cite. Here we have we know that we're going to cite it because we have, the correct grammar for all this. This is all correct. This is what we call that signal verb. Dove states, Dove implies, Dove implores, right? That's called a signal verb. That's part of that MLA requirement. And then we have quotation marks, unless we're just summarizing. We don't need quotation marks, but this is a direct quotation. And then the word the code, or the words the code, they are going to lead me back to the I should see if I can put a hyperlink in there to where we go back from the code. Let's see if I can insert a hyperlink. I know how to link. Let's go to, I don't know. I know how to do it in PowerPoint. I'm going to figure out one day where I can just click on it and it goes straight to the works cited page, because that's what I need to do as a reader. So I'm going to go straight from here to the works cited page right here, the code. Right? So this word sticking out needs to be the word in my in-text citation. And so we did that multiple times. We're going to look at them. So there's the first time, the code. Here's another time, the code. AI produces standards of the imagination and not reality, right? The song is slowed down to sound like a haunting lullaby. Scenes are then aligned with the song to convey. So we're getting very specific. So we have another in-text citation, the code. And again, the period goes on the outside, not the inside. This isn't a direct quote. She's just summarizing. Same thing here. Dove suggests what really appears to be according to Dove was added at the end of the search, right? According to Dove, at the end of the search. So she gets very specific. So we have the code again right here. All right, so let's look at other places. They provide a positive example of comparison with Dove at the end of the commercial. And again, we have the code. So we'll skip that, keep on looking at okay. So that's all the places of the code. She may have needed a couple more, but she did a really good job with those parenthetical citations, the in-text citations with her essay here. All right. So let's come down and let's look at this blend. So now we have this blend. She actually has two of them. I want to point out both of them. My Comp 2 class does too, but Comp 1 only needs, it's really centuries ago, but anyway, no, that's Martin Luther King, not Plato. The next one is Plato. All right, so now we have a blend. I know this is kind of tripping a few students up, but think of it as one sentence. Two people are talking in one sentence. All right, so as I was telling my students before, the way to make sure that we have a proper blend is to get my breakfast. I'm really hungry. The way to make sure that we have a proper blend is to begin our sentence with what's called a conjunction. A conjunction is where two sentences meet, or not two sentences, I'm sorry. A conjunction is where two clauses meet. We have two different types of clauses, independent and dependent. Now, this is not a grammar review. I'm not getting into a grammar review, but there are a couple things that we need to know. So I'm going to put this by itself. I just want to look at only this. All right, what this means. If I begin a sentence with a word like while, because, when, whenever, if I begin a sentence like that, I know it's going to depend on the rest of the sentence to make sense. Like if I said, because I was hungry, what? That's an independent clause. I mean, that's a dependent clause. I went to McDonald's. I'm not McDonald's. I'll never go. I don't like McDonald's. Because I was hungry, I got my granola bar. Right. So that's an independent clause and a dependent clause. I'm going to type that in. Because I was hungry, comma. There's no D in hungry. It's you in. Because I was hungry. That's a dependent clause. It depends on the rest of the sentence to make sense. And it needs an independent clause to make sense. You have to have one independent clause, right? It's kind of like, think about like kids who live at the house. Because I was hungry since I went to the store. Since I was young. Since I went to the store. That doesn't make any sense. This sentence makes no sense because it's two dependent clauses. Kind of like how I have two dependent children who I cannot leave alone, right? Think of that as two dependents. They depend on an independent to make sense. So because I was hungry since I went to the store, they don't make any sense on their own. They do not make sense on their own. Because I was hungry, I opened my granola. This is an independent clause. It's a sentence that can stand all on its own. It's a clause because it's part of another sentence, so it's not a sentence on its own in this, but it can be a sentence all on its own. I opened my granola. That's a sentence. That's an independent clause. Here is a dependent clause. Because I was hungry. It depends on I opened my granola to make sense. I can also put I opened my granola because I was hungry. Right. I can type. So I can put it here or I can put it here. Your dependent clause can move around. I can put it because I was hungry, I opened my granola. I opened my granola because I was hungry. So that's an independent and a dependent clause. The reason why I bring that up is because whenever you begin, this is a dependent clause because it begins with what is called a conjunction. You know what? I forgot to talk about conjunctions on my example a while ago. I'm pressing Z. Because I was hungry. So the word because is what's called a conjunction because it's where the two sentences meet, right? A conjunction is like the road is driving this way and then another road is driving this way and it has a conjunction. The conjunction can be here at the beginning or the conjunction can be in the middle. But that's what it means. This is where our roads meet. This is where our two sentences meet. Because I was hungry and because I was hungry. So it doesn't matter if your conjunction is here or here. So that is why. So when we begin our blend with the conjunction, we are automatically going to have a blend, right? While years ago, because years ago, since years ago, right? So if we begin with the conjunction, we're going to have an independent clause. The next quote, this quote will depend on the next quote, right? This quote will have to depend on the next quote. And what's that thinking? So if I say, well, years ago, Martin Luther King told us, it doesn't make any sense on its own. But I can say Paul Hudson echoes him with you are the one, I can echo. I'm sorry, I can't echo. This is an independent clause or just a sentence. This can stand on its own because it doesn't have a conjunction. So it doesn't have a conjunction, so it can stand on its own. So I can't stress that enough. So begin your blend with a conjunction, while, because, something like that. And then you'll have to have a blend because it'll have to have the rest of the sentence to make sense. All you need is a word here. Because, while, before, some kind of conjunction. Put it at the very beginning and make sure that you don't end with the period, right? A lot of you did really well with that, where you began with the while, and then you went ahead and had a period here, and I didn't know why. I was like, why did you have a period? Put a comma there, right? The period goes at the end of a sentence. This is not a sentence. Let's put a comma there. So just make sure you begin with a conjunction, have a period after that first in-text, or a comma after that first in-text citation, and then put the period at the end of the whole sentence. That's all. So begin with a conjunction, have a comma in the middle, end with the period at the end. Make sure you have your in-text citations. And that's it. You got it. So there's another example of a blend that I will upload to Brightspace. You'll be able to see that. All right. So there's her blend between Martin Luther King and Paul Hudson. Now, again, the reason why this is Martin, if I jump down to the works cited page, that's what's sticking out, Martin. And it's because it's the name of a video, not because it's Martin Luther King's name and we're going back to Martin Luther King. It's because the name of the video. Same thing with Hudson. Right? Same thing with Hudson. If I jump down to my works cited page, the word sticking out is Hudson. So that's what you need to make sure. You need to make sure that what's in the in-text citation is the same as what's the very first word of your works cited page. So here I have the cave. It's not Plato. It's not Wells. It's none of that. It's the first two words, because it starts with the first two words, and then a timestamp. So Plato describes that the shadows are prisoners, reality are not accurate representations of the real world. She did a summary there. So there's not she didn't directly quote it. She just had a summary. And then she had the in-text citation where he talked about how the shadows of the prisoners are not accurate representations of the real world, right? So there's the cave. There is a timestamp of around the time where he talked about that it wouldn't be reality what they saw. So again, I'm going to go from the cave, and this is going to be 422. So the reason why we have this in this timestamp is because what if I used it again? What if I talked about Parable of the Cave one more time, only I was 9 minutes in this time or 8 minutes in this time, right? So that's why we have the timestamp for a video longer than 5 minutes. We have that timestamp to show, okay, where this time did I use it, right? So then I come down here, the cave. That's what's sticking out. A parable told by the way, Orson Welles didn't write it. This is centuries before Orson Welles. He's just the one who narrated it. All right. I think that's about it. She circled back to the same quoter, so she got that checked mark, and she circled back to the same sources, and she used her commercial a few times. She circled back, so she got a 100% on that MLA because she has her signal verbs, she has the correct in-text citations, she has her accurate sources, and she has at least one blend. She actually has two. Where's that other one? Might be here, right here. Yeah, because she had a so here's another one actually. That's actually another blend because she used a semicolon. So Plato described that the shadows are prisoners' reality, but are not accurate representation. Once again, Paul similarly restates the past with the longer and further you manage. So she did another blend there, and she just used a semicolon. Oh, this doesn't need to be capitalized with that. So anyway, so if it's a semicolon, that's not a sentence. A semicolon brings two ideas together, but it's in one sentence. All right. So you can just use, I'm not going to bold this one. We're just going to use her first one. I'm going to save this, upload it to Brightspace. And so you should have a good first draft of an essay where you are bringing your personal, she doesn't really bring her personal experience back in a lot. She just does a really good job expanding on the commercial, how they're doing, what they're doing. And so for an example for using your own personal experience and over, this isn't the best example for that, but she does an amazing job breaking down the commercials. She does a great job bringing those citations back. So I think it's a very well written essay. I'm going to upload it to Brightspace so you can at least see the in-text citations. So I'm sorry to say I will do my best to go through and make sure that no one has plagiarism. But if you don't have the correct in-text citations, if you don't have a correct works cited page, that is technical plagiarism. And if I don't catch it on time, as we're drawing to a conclusion, you know, you have to be able to make sure that yours is correct. I have a lot of students, and so you have to be able to make sure yours is correct. And again, I'm really thinking about getting an eye patch for this left eye, so I'm doing my best to be staring at a screen, but I can't really stare at a screen very much right now because it just hurts a lot. And so it just hurts a lot. So let's try to do our best to make sure that your works cited page, your in-text citations are correct. Use these. I gave you a lot of example of works cited pages. So if you are citing a YouTube video and it doesn't look like this, it's technical plagiarism. A lot of people are doing some really weird stuff on their YouTube videos that I'm not understanding where you're getting it. This is what a YouTube video looks like. The video, this is what it is, where it is, uploaded by, when it was uploaded, and the URL. It's that simple. I don't know where you're getting, we don't have a date in parentheses. I don't know where you're getting these. So that's another one. Here's that Paul Hudson. Here's the Martin Luther King, which is also a video. So let's make sure that our works cited pages that you have them done correctly. And try your best to do that on your own. It's a little bit easier when I'm walking from student to student in class. And when I can walk from student to student in class and check their works cited page. But for your class, I have to be able to open screen after screen after screen, page after page, check every works cited page. This is what I'm trying my best to do. But again, having a really bad headache, trying to get over, it's going to take, I guess, a month. I'm going to be one of those people who it takes a month to get over COVID. I really need you to be able to meticulously look at your works cited page and your in-text citation and try to find it yourself. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just doing my best to get through them. All right. Let me know if you have any questions.